Bonjour, bonsoir, and welcome to another edition of Radio New Manchester. This is podcast number 13. And before I get into this, I just want to tell all of you I've been under the weather as of late. I was sick. I had to go to the emergency room and have myself checked out. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like I was suffocating. And I did my best to tell the doctor what was wrong with me. Actually, I went to the emergency room at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This was on a Sunday. Somebody took me to the emergency room. And come to find out, the doctor heard me tell him what was wrong with me. I said like I have some I feel like my chest was kind of like stuffed, like kind of like congested or something. I think that's what I said. But no, you know what? I didn't say it that way, and he mistook it and thought it was pain, and he gave me some pain medicine, which I really didn't need, and I'll tell you why. Come to find out, I had a lot of mucus in my lungs. So I went to Walmart and purchased some Mucinex. Mucinex DM or Mucinex. The medication that will break up, loosen, and thin out mucus. And that's what I took. And I've been taking that every day, and now I feel better now. I can breathe now. And I think on a previous video on this channel, which I did on some old lady in Canada, Naughty Nana, I just couldn't breathe. Like I was like clearing my throat. I just did a horrible job doing this video. So I won't have any problems here on Radio New Manchester. I don't know, on Radio New Manchester podcast, I think I'll be doing more of these in the future. I don't know if you guys like these or not. You just hear the sound of my voice, and you guys are looking at a green picture that has Radio New Manchester on it and internet radio in both English and French. If you guys are not interested in that. So, anyway, I dreamed this up. I saw something from WWE a long time ago, and here on YouTube, called Radio WWF. I like the format and all, so I decided to do something like this. I decided to call my voice recordings or as podcasts is of Radio New Manchester. So I decided to call the voice recordings Radio New Manchester podcasts episodes. So I'm gonna be talking about a lot of things on this. So anywho, let me get into this. Okay, in this 13th edition of Radio New Manchester, I'm going to talk about people in their 40s and 50s who regret and who are uncomfortable with things that they did in the past. And I'm going to talk about this. Okay, you got these people who did porn, they chased women, and they did drugs, and they smoked, they drank booze, and these people cringe and feel uncomfortable with these things that they used to do. And they also went to parties and clubs. And these people today, they just gave all that stuff up, and they decided to grow up and become like teachers and mentors. And you got some of these people who run around and they put people down, they look down on them, they rip them apart. Some just shut everybody out of their lives to focus on personal growth and wisdom, to be mentors and leave something for the next generation. And all of this is tied into individualism, self-reliance. Don't need no help from anybody. And they look down on people like Winston Wu, the founder of Happier Abroad. Me, I never did porn. I never chased women. I never did drugs. I never drank booze. I never smoked cigarettes, and I never went to clubs. And because, speaking of clubs, I was never into all of that stuff anyway. I was interested in just meeting that special someone, like a woman. Like I go in public, or I work at a job and I see a woman that I like, want to be in a relationship, go on dates, and like we love each other, and in the future we get married and we start a family. That's what I'm into. And in the past, why I was doing stuff like that, you got those 40 and 40-year-olds who ran around, they went to clubs, they drank booze, and they talked about how much women they banged in foreign countries, and they drank booze or jack, and they smoked, and all this stuff. And you got those people who were porn stars, and they starred in pornographic films, and they went to clubs and they party, and now these people look back on all this stuff and they're just uncomfortable, and they just say that they're ashamed of doing this stuff, and they say that they don't want to do this stuff anymore. And I look at this and I say, that's a good thing. It's an improvement. And and all that stuff was like, it was just a waste of time for these people anyway. And, there's someone I want to talk about. He has a YouTube channel. I used to subscribe to him. I'm not going to say his name. And as bad as the United States was back in the 2010s, this guy, he had a job. He had good jobs. He served in the military. He was a personal trainer, a teacher. He's a teacher now, and let's see. He was a security guard, and also he was a medic, a suture, and he served in the military. And throughout the 2010s, not 2000, but 2010s, excuse me. Yeah, throughout the 2010s, this guy cranked out videos. Some of the videos he cranked out, he talked about banging women and drinking jack, and talk about, I banged like 4 or 5 bitches, and after that, my hands smell like ass, and all of this stuff. And I watched one of those videos. I kind of busted out laughing because it was funny to me. It was hilarious. But also I wasn't into that. And I used to sub to this guy. He did more than talk about stuff like that. He talked about how America was, how American women are, um, feminists, women putting men down and throwing men under the bus, and women are put on a higher pedestal. And he was against all that, and he was part of MGTOW. So this guy's completely changed. And also I think back in 2019 he made a video, talked about he wanted married women. He talked about married women and their daughters want his BBC. And that turned me off, and I unsubscribed to him, so I don't sub to this guy anymore. And I took a look at some of his videos, he's completely different now, but he's a bit of a hypocrite. Oh, he's completely changed, and he's looking forward to becoming a mentor to a young child. And he talked about, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to live that very long. Well, we're not going to live that very long because we're going to die one day. But who wants to talk about that? Yeah, he says some things that are very hypocritical, and and people like that who gave up starring in pornographic films, and they chased women, and they talked about how much women that they banged, and they used to drink booze, and they smoked and did drugs and all this stuff, and go to parties / clubs. I mean, yeah, and these people don't do this stuff anymore. They're in their 40s. They don't do this stuff anymore. And okay, and these people exist. I don't know all these. I don't know these people. But and there's something that these people will never talk about. Okay, how about the lack of social human connection in the United States, where people are segregated, isolated, paranoid, and fake? It's hard to make any normal friends here, and you don't talk to people in the United States unless it's for business-related purposes. And people you went to school with, they just grew up and got married, and they just forgot all about you. And after college, after high school and college, these people don't talk to you, and they don't talk to strangers anymore. And they're controlled by their spouse. And you got some who are single, who are in relationships with someone they're dating. They just shut everybody out of their lives because they want to have personal growth and strength and wisdom, and be mentors to the next generation. And as I look at this, they're passing something down to the next generation that's not good, which is the lack of social or human connection here in the United States, and people are segregated, isolated, paranoid, and fake, and people are socially disconnected. There's lack of social or human connection here in America. I mean, people are cold and distant. They're standoffish. And the United States is the most loneliest country in the world, and you're just alone, and you don't have any friends. And these people don't care about that. All they care about is building up the next generation. That's all they care about. How about passing something down to the next generation? Like social and human connection, like socializing with people, forming friendships, being in a collectivism society where everybody builds each other up, everybody is included in the group. Everybody cares about each other, regardless if they're adults or children, instead of shutting people out and segregating everybody. But they don't believe in that. And, if I talk to these people about stuff like that, they'll just ignore me. And, you got their followers will say stuff like this to me. So-and-so shed his ass up. And they'll say stuff like this. I'm dating a Spanish chick. And I don't see her a lot. I see her sometimes, and she sees me sometimes or not. And that's the type of stuff I keep off of YouTube. And they say it in the comment section of their YouTube channel, and they get all these likes on their comment from their followers. And their followers just believe in what they believe in. Like, they don't care about the lack of social or human connection and people in America being segregated, isolated, and paranoid and fake. And it's difficult to make any normal friends here, and people in America don't like to meet people. They ignore each other's presence. It's all business. I mean, it's all seriousness and business, and they'll say stuff. I didn't come to work to make friends. I came to work to make a living. I didn't come here to talk and make friends. And they'll go on vacation, and they'll show themselves in TikTok shorts on their YouTube channel. They're drinking like a daiquiri on a cruise ship, or they're in a tropical setting in a tropical island. Blah, 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 blah. And, it's just like, and it's kind of sad, like, you're in the United States. You're alone. You can't make any normal friends here. You can't make friends and connect with people and form friendships, and you can't meet that special someone like you do in foreign countries. Because in countries outside the U.S., countries like Mexico and Latin American countries in Africa, parts of Europe, Southeast Asia, in those countries, they believe in social or human connection. They're friendly, sociable, down to earth, and they're easy to talk to, and you can connect with these people. And it's good for your mental health. And, and these people are passing something down to the next generation that's good. Vice versa with people in the United States, with people in their 40s who just gave up the party life and the party animal and the frat boy stuff. They just gave all that up to be mentors and to build up the next generation. And, what they're passing down to the next generation is just robotic, stiff, empty, and lifeless. And it is. That's what they're passing down. They're not passing down something that people in foreign countries are passing down. Yeah, the countries that I just mentioned. And it's just a crying shame, and it is. And I'm not here to judge people. I mean, I'm not going to judge someone in their 40s who still like to go to parties and clubs and and talk about how much women they had sex with, how much women they laid, and they starred in porn, and they did drugs and drank booze and smoked cigarettes and whatnot. I'm not going to judge these people. I'm not going to look down on these people. And I'm not, because, they're adults and they can do whatever they want. That's up to them, as long as they're not bothering anybody, as long as they're not hurting anybody. But you got those 40-year-olds out there and 50-year-olds who will look down on these people, and they'll say that they're weird and, oh, it's embarrassing what they're doing, and they're just making fools out of themselves and blah, 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 blah. They just look down on these people and rip these people apart. And I'm not in that business of doing stuff like that, and I'm not. And that's just wrong right there. And these people want to look down on other people who used to do the stuff that they did, and they think, and they look down on them, and they have this superiority complex, and they think they're better than them. And deep down inside, these people are all just insecure, and they are. They're just insecure, and also they don't believe in social or human connection and forming friendships and making friends and building up everybody and strengthening up everybody, because they believe in individualism and self-reliance and don't need no help from anybody, and and you keep out of my space, and I'll keep out of yours, and I'm going to mind my own business and you're going to mind your own business. And you got American society, and they're connected to this, and they believe in they believe in like you're married, and you have a family, you have children, and you got to be incredibly private and keep your personal business to yourself and mind your own business, and they expect you to do the same. And I'm not the type of person to stick my nose in other people's business, and I'm not gonna do stuff like that. And I look at the United States of America, and it's just a boring, empty country where you got people who say stuff like this: how are you doing? And they say stuff like this because it's like, okay, they say this to you. They say, hi, how are you doing? It's like service people or just total strangers, and you're expected to follow the script and say this: oh, I'm doing fine, and why I gotta fake it? I mean, if I'm not doing so well, I'm gonna say that I'm not doing so well. And life has its ups and downs. Yeah, life has its ups and downs, and sometimes you're gonna be doing okay, and sometimes you're not gonna be doing okay. That's life. Life has its ups and downs. You don't need to go around and fake it and telling people you're doing so well. You don't need to run around and ask people how are you doing. I don't need to say that. Yeah, because like in countries like Poland, that's meaningless, and it is. It's very, very meaningless. And you got countries that are like that. And I noticed the service people, some of them at cash exchanges at a Royal Caribbean cruise ship, or at stores like Walmart, Target, the Dollar General store, and others. I mean, they're burnt out, and they just decide not to say anything and do silent transactions. You got these transactions like, you pay for your things at a store, and the cashier will say this to you: hi, how are you doing? And you say, I'm doing fine. And you talk to cashiers, and you got these cashiers who are burnt out. They don't want to say any of this stuff, and they see that, and they just mumble, and they don't say anything. They don't say nothing to you because they're burnt out, and because they talk to so many people, and they don't want to talk anymore. And you got customers who don't want to engage in like small talk or talk to cashiers. They just want to just buy their things, just get in there and get out of there. And they don't want to follow the script, and it can feel kind of cold, and it can kind of weird. And I kind of went through something like that at a store where a cashier was completely burnt out, and he didn't want to say anything. And I encountered someone on a cruise ship who worked at the cash exchange, who was like this on this Mediterranean cruise ship back in 2023. So yeah, and all of that just it's just in the shitter, and it is. Yeah, you know, but going back to these insecure like 40-year-olds who just gave up the wild animal party life persona to be a mentor and a person with wisdom. And you got some of these people who are massive hypocrites. They'll turn around and bash people and rip people up. And I'm going to say this. If you want to be a mentor, you got to stop bashing people and ripping people apart. Don't just build up a child or a young person who is the next generation. Build up and strengthen and form friendships with people of the previous generation, people your age. Yeah, and don't shut these people out. You just shut out the people who are idiots, who are clowns, not people who aren't like that. You just can't go around and just ignore people and shut everybody out, regardless if they're crazy or not. That's just insane right there. But that's the American mindset right there, and it is. So I don't subscribe to their to their personality or thoughts, and I don't. And I'm the type of person, and I always been like this. I don't take sides, and I don't. I think for myself, and I think outside the box. And and all this was courteous of some YouTuber who educated me on that, and also going overseas and going to a lot of countries, and I've been to a lot of countries, and I'm going to name them really quickly before I end this 13th edition of Radio New Manchester. Okay, I went to countries like Mexico, Canada, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Belgium, Belgique, Norway, Germany, Deutschland, France, République Française, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Turkey, and China, or the People's Republic of China. That is a hardcore authoritarian country. I mean, going through that airport at Shanghai was quite an interesting experience. Yeah, very, very strict, very crazy, just out there. Yeah, and the cash exchange was even more crazier. Yeah, don't want to go on and on about that. Yeah, and I've been to some countries, and I'm going to Japan in the fall, in October. I'm going to keep you guys posted on that. Okay, I think that's the end of this Radio New Manchester podcast. All right, what do you guys think of what I just talked about in this podcast? You can leave your comments if you want to, or you guys don't want to say anything at all. All right, that's that. All right, I'm out. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Goodbye. And good night, good evening, or wherever you guys are in the world watching this. Have a nice day, have a nice night, evening, where you are in the world watching this video or listening to this Radio New Manchester podcast. All right, I'm out. Goodbye.